This is a show where we spotlight people and organizations that are helping Miami-Dade become more resilient. And I can't be more thrilled today to have on the show Councilwoman from the Town of Cutler Bay, Suzy Lord. She represents a community that just doesn't talk the talk, but walks the walk, and we're going to get into that. So welcome, Suzy. How are you?
Hi, Irela. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
It is.
And let's get right into it.
Yeah.
How did you decide to get into public service as a councilwoman? And most recently, you've just decided to run for mayor of the Town of Cutler Bay. How exciting.
I have, yeah. I announced a couple of weeks ago that I'm going to resign my seat. I have 2 years left in it, but I feel so strongly about being our next mayor that I'm going to take this leap of faith, resign my seat, run for mayor, and continue the great work that we've been doing as a town. I decided to get into politics. My family is a family of stewardship and leadership, right? My grandfather was a mayor of a town in Germany. My brother was on the school board in Maryland. My youngest son was on our inaugural youth council and was our town manager's intern. And so it just kind of came naturally to me. My kids grew up, and I've been in the town for 42 years, and there was a seat 2 was opening in 2020, and I thought, okay, let's try this, right? I love the town so much, so it was just a natural progression for me to start like serving because I was serving with my son as his mother, driving him to the events and learning what I thought I knew everything about Cutler Bay, which I learned very quickly. I didn't once I got elected, but
but it happens. But it's so nice that it's like it's in the family.
Yes,
which is great.
It's great. It makes serving a lot easier because it's just an understood thing. Oh, mom has this event tonight. She's going to miss the birthday party. It's all right. Like she'll make the next one or whatever. There was no friction from it. And my extended family is very proud of it. But, it's just kind of a thing we did. Even my mother, who never really worked outside the home, she was service driven. She was the neighbor that would bring you meals when you had a baby. And like that, that's just how we grew up.
Yeah, it's community. And,
exactly.
The Town of Cutler Bay is such a nice community.
Yeah.
And of course, it was one of the last ones that have been incorporated.
We're the youngest, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and ever since then, you guys have just been like gangbusters, just doing amazing work. And since this is a resilience show, let's get into let's talk resilience, because you guys have been really a leader in resilience planning, even so successful in getting funding from all levels of government, federal, state, local. Talk to us about some of those initiatives and those investments, where those investments have gone to.
Okay, so one of the most proud things I can say about our town is that with our purchasing of green space to save apartment buildings from being built there, or to save 400 homes from being built on Old Cutler, which would be practically 800 more cars on that historical road. We couldn't afford that infrastructure, number one. The environment can't take that kind of hit. We can't keep developing that way, right? So we are now the largest landowner in our town on Old Cutler. We own 28 acres, which is so unheard of for a municipality.
That's unbelievable.
Well over $30 million investment in our environment.
Amazing, amazing. And again, where other communities are seeing, we got to build up our tax base because, we need to, get more tax base, more money for XYZ. Here you guys have made this sacrifice in a way.
Polar opposite decision, right?
But at the same time, it's good land use planning.
Yes.
Because the further south we go, the more we know that, costs a lot more money to invest in the infrastructure you need to maintain, that kind of lifestyle.
That development,
That development.
So look what's happening south of us, right? There's no infrastructure for that kind of building, right? And it's pumping forward into Cutler Bay and pumping forward into Palmetto Bay and the carbon footprint. Let's not even talk about that. That's
and again, it's like people don't understand. The argument is, it's affordability and this and that and the other. Well, it doesn't become affordable when you have to put in sewer lines and you have to put pump stations and you have to put roads and sidewalks and all sorts of infrastructure that you need to maintain a quality of life in a community.
100%.
And so it makes sense. And you guys have been that leader. Wow. I mean, it's just, and I think everyone in the state of Florida, not just South Florida, but in the state of Florida, should learn from what Cutler Bay has been doing.
I really appreciate that,
Yes.
because the fact that we're doing that made the decision for me to run for council a lot easier. We're already trailblazing. Let me make sure that continues. Like my vote, let me make sure the vote is going to the right place for our town and for all of South Florida, frankly, right? And the fact that we get accolades from that is just sort of the byproduct of it. It's not why we do it. We do it because it's the right thing to do, right? I know that you'll remember I just saw you at the Everglades Coalition Conference,
Yes.
and you were on a panel, and you gave the town of Cutler Bay the
Big shout out,
which I was able to catch on camera and pump out on my social media, which I think helps our residents understand that it's not just figures and, we own 28 acres. It's like we're making a difference. We're making a difference, and it's being recognized by individuals like you at the Everglades Coalition Conference. That was a huge moment for Cutler Bay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, I mean, it's just you have to call folks out when they do the right things.
Right.
And it's just a great example. And when we're talking about land use, especially now when there's, so much, threatened, every parcel of land is being threatened here, especially down south.
Right.
And the urban development boundaries threatened every day.
Every day.
And, Biscayne Bay and our Biscayne Aquifer, where we get our water supply from. I mean, we need to start thinking more along the lines of what you all are doing, which
Right.
is more long term. The short term gain is not going to get you there. Long term is what's going to get us there, to stay here longer, to make Miami-Dade more resilient. And in that regard, you also are very, very intentionally focused on flood mitigation,
Yes.
flood protection.
Right.
Because you are a low-lying community.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that vulnerability. You guys sit almost right there on Biscayne Bay. So
We are.
storm surge is a factor, is a factor, especially now that we're in hurricane season.
I can tell you, just if I may, a little personal note. When Hurricane Andrew came through, I was 8.5 months pregnant. I lived on the end of a canal that abutted right to Biscayne Bay. And what happened was the storm surge, which, again, growing up in Miami, we heard storm surge and we would have some flooding or whatever. The storm surge was such a real thing for me. It came up the canal, through my house, pushed everything I owned out the door, everything I owned except for the clothing I had on at 8.5 months pregnant. All my furniture,
goodness.
everything. So
That's terrifying.
to tell you that I understand storm surge, I understand
firsthand.
it firsthand, right? And then you have the issues of the homeowners insurance who don't necessarily want to cover a storm surge because it's a flooding event and not a windstorm event, and that changes. I mean, it's a passionate thing for me because I lived it. I wore my father's clothes until the Red Cross can come through and help us.
Right.
The things that we do, we have an amazing public works department. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, but we are constantly cleaning our sewage system out and our flood drains out. We do that more than one time a year.
It's important.
It's important. We have vulnerable assessment planning meetings all the time that are open to the public. We've done a storm water master plan public information meeting. We do those every year. I went to one. I go to all of these. I go to everything. Again, thank God for my family understanding, and there's a lack of friction there. But one of the last ones I went to, the stormwater master planning for the public, it was me and one resident in the entire chambers, and they continued with the whole meeting one resident, or the second resident being me. And a couple of days later was when we had that 20-plus inch storm come through over 3 days, and Saga Bay was in dire straits, right? And unfortunately, even the woman who was present with me in that meeting was not from Saga Bay. Saga Bay is known to flood. When I was growing up, we called it Soggy Bay, right? I mean, it's just, that's what
always
they're known
been
for.
that way,
we
unfortunately.
are working so hard on the entire town, but in particular in Saga Bay because of the flooding. And right after that, because of our amazing relationships with the upper electeds, that I like to call them the upper electeds, with Congresswoman Maria Salazar, she procured $1 million for us to work on the flooding issue in Saga Bay.
Yes, she did.
These relationships are real things, right? And we continue to do that in preparation because, like you said, hurricane season just started, right? We already have 2 storms on the other side of Mexico.
I know.
Right? Expected it to head this way, and, fingers crossed. But so that's why it's important that this work happen all the time, right? That's why it's important that we procure that land and we protect the wetlands so they can protect us from that storm surge that devastated me.
Exactly.
Right? Like, that's what's important about the work we're doing here as a town.
And this is a great segue to talk about how you're using nature as a way to mitigate. It doesn't all have to be great infrastructure.
Right.
You can use wetlands, you can use mangroves, you can use areas, that are already there.
That they already exist.
Exactly.
That I think have been unfortunately overlooked for so many years, right? So when we acquired the 8.5 acres, which is now Coastal Ridge Preserve on Old Cutler and 184th Street, it was, again, we were going to have McMansions built there, and they were going to build right up on wetlands and then have patios and driveways and nothing impervious, and then have another, God forbid, Hurricane Andrew come through. Mm-hmm. Nothing would stop that storm surge. Those houses will not stop that storm surge. So it was important for us to protect those wetlands and to make sure that property, we've cleared it of invasives. It looks amazing. And we're eventually going to do a bat house there, which I'm really excited about.
For the bonneted bat,
For the
right?
bonneted bat, exactly.
So cool. I see you guys
and
are
a
just
boardwalk.
Yes.
Right. We're going to have this whole educational component there. So the first time I walked that property, which is literally down the street from where I live, mm-hmm. I wasn't elected. I didn't know it. Then I get elected. I walk the property with our town manager for one of the invasive cleanups, which we do 2 or 3 times a year, which is great. We partner with our schools and our students, and they do great work in our canal system cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. And so I walked it. There's a red hawk diving. There's egrets. It was like we were in the Everglades. It was the most beautiful piece of property in our town.
But you are in the Everglades.
Yeah,
if you think about it, traditional mm-hmm. system mm-hmm. ends really down by Biscayne National Park.
Right.
And so you guys are neighbors to Biscayne National Park, which is also a wonderful place to be.
Oh, my goodness.
Guys, it's a national park, and it's your neighbor.
Right.
It's so thrilling to, how nice is
what
it?
What is that, a $60 million?
$64 billion.
$64 billion
Biscayne Bay
for Miami-Dade County.
Economically, yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's an amazing number. When I moved here when I was 12, I moved from Germany. So Miami was very exotic for me.
Sure.
And one of the first things my dad did was buy a boat and teach us how to snorkel. My dad was from New England. Like, Miami was a new thing for him too. And I've grown up on that bay. That bay is in my heart. That bay is in my heart and soul. And I think that what we can do to protect it, it's not only necessary for the $64 billion, dollar amount that Miami-Dade County is getting, but just for the environment, just for our children and grandchildren, going forward.
It is, I've that I've been an advocate of Biscayne Bay for decades now, and it all started when I served on the South Florida Water Management District Governing Board.
Right.
And we had this project, part of the Everglades, Comprehensive Everglades
Don't get me started on that.
Plan.
That's my favorite project.
It's mine too. It's like my baby.
We'll be here all day.
Yeah, I know. So the Biscayne Bay Coastal Wetlands project, which there's phase 1 that was just recently completed, and it was so thrilling to be at that ribbon cutting, Councilwoman, and just to be able to cut that ribbon along Cutler Bay, along state and federal and everybody that's been working on this forever, right? To finally see that happening. But what I found wonderfully interesting about this is that Cutler Bay kind of became a partner. Miami-Dade's been a partner, state of Florida, federal government, but Cutler Bay, this small town right there on Biscayne Bay, became this incredible partner and incorporated all these recreational features for your community and for everyone else in Miami-Dade and South Florida, whoever comes to visit.
Right.
Which, you're thinking big infrastructure, big pumps, moving this water into the wetlands so that they can, we can rehydrate and feed this aquifer that we all live off because it's our water supply. And keep that salt water out of our fresh water supply. I'm trying to educate everyone as we're talking here on why this is such an important project. And you all became a partner. help the district understand that this is also part of your community, and that you need, you might as well incorporate some areas in which to enjoy it. So talk about that.
Let's get started. So I learned about SERP at the first Everglades Coalition conference I went to, and I literally try and go to them every year. And it wasn't until I was elected and I went to my first one, where I met you for the first time at one, that I started to realize what I didn't know. And again, growing up in Miami, you think, oh, I know, it's the Everglades. I know. I didn't know, right? SERP is literally right on our town line. It's just in our backyard, right? And it was almost $90 million. And what struck me at first, like almost $90 million of federally funded program. And what struck me at first is that we did have all these different levels of municipalities and government and leadership all working hand in hand, which is what an important project it was, right? That immediately, we've got all these different groups coming together. Let's get this done. The first time I toured it, it had already been built, not filled yet. And I had the luxury, and I call it luxury. There's a lot of perks to the job. One of them is I got to climb a ladder and look down and see the giant pumps that we're going to be bringing this fresh water in, which really brought to mind how much water is actually going to be filtered through. It's 2,000 acres of wetlands that we're rehydrating with this program, 2,000 acres. So the first time I toured it and we saw the recreational components and we were endorsing them, and we have a great deal of outdoorsmen in the town, I was really excited about it. The second time I got to tour it was with our Congresswoman Salazar. She wanted to learn about it. Ralph and I, our town manager, and I accompanied her on the tour. And during the tour, every time I do one of these things, I learn more and more. Every time I go to one of those coalition meetings, I learn more and more and more. The second time I learned that we have another part of SERP right north of us and off of Old Cutler at the Deering area. And
that was the first
phase, right? One of the engineers told me that they had just discovered right off of where it pumps into Biscayne Bay, starfish, a sawfish, all of that stuff was gone from our bay. And I can tell you, again, I can attest firsthand, when I used to dive in the bay at 12 years old, 15 years old, diving now, completely different bay. Sadly, completely different bay, right? There's not as many lobster. There's zero conch now. There used to be conch out there.
There used to be oysters.
Yeah, there used to be oysters. So when I heard that the flushing of this filtered fresh water into the bay was bringing starfish back, and sawfish, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's an amazing.
So those are indicators, right? Restoration indicators that the money that we're spending, I know it's a lot, but we're bringing back nature, that was gone for so long, and it's worth it.
It is.
To me, it's worth it. It's worth it for our quality of life. It's not just for nature, but also for us,
our drinking water,
right? And for the future. I mean, isn't it nice that maybe our grandkids will be able to go and see starfish that weren't there when we were
in their backyard.
Yeah.
Exactly. The other component to it that's kind of lost on some people is the educational component, right? So we have 2 high schools, like literally down the road, that don't have to take a bus out to the Everglades anymore, right? We can take that danger component out of it. They can take a bus a few blocks and they can walk that, hopefully see starfish. It's an amazing project, and one that has my whole heart. It's so good for South Florida. I mean, for everybody, really, but it's really impressive.
And what's fascinating is that's just one component of the 68 other projects that start from Lake Okeechobee all the way down. And we hear a lot about, bring the water south, and that's what it's about, right? It's the system used to just kind of be its own filtration system, and we channelized everything, and just to protect ourselves from all the floodwaters. But at the same time, now we're realizing, hey, we need to kind of incorporate nature back into this whole thing, because I always say nature had it right the first time.
And it takes people like you to remind us of that, honestly.
Yeah,
it does.
Me and a lot of other people and a lot of the organizations that are part of the Everglades Coalition that have been, on the front lines every day, always reminding us. I mean, it does take a community, and again, I have to give kudos to the federal government, the Army Corps of Engineers, the South Florida Water Management District. Miami-Dade County donated a lot of those lands that are being used now to rehydrate those wetlands. And again, local government.
Right.
See, it all comes together.
It does. And, you know, we do things, like we said, a little differently than some of the other municipalities. We are constantly hosting the Army Corps of Engineers at Town Hall. Whenever they want a place to meet, we host them. We've hosted BBC meetings, and I go to all of that. Like, I sit back. I'm not part of the meeting. I sit back and I watch and I learn everything that I attend with regard to the environment, and those types of meetings is a learning opportunity for me.
Yeah.
So.
No, and it's important to stay connected. And, you know, they need local governments to help. You know, because we're here, we know our community, and it's up to us to help, you know, elevate that.
That's a really good point, because we do know our community better than anybody else, right? I mean, we know it better than even Palmetto Bay knows us, and Palmetto Bay knows Palmetto Bay better than Cutler Bay knows it. You know, I mean, it is. So that's a very good point. Yeah,
and we know who needs to be in the room.
Right.
So at the same time, BBCer, that's phase 2 of the Biscayne Bay Coastal Wetlands. It's the acronym is too difficult to even remember.
Right.
But that's phase 2, which is a little bit more complicated because, again, with all these threats to, you know, our wetlands that are happening because of development, we need to kind of like fast track this. So that's an ongoing project. You know, I always say, you got to show up and never leave. You know, like,
which is what it seems like you've done, right?
Yeah, it's like, you know, I'll leave when I feel like, you know, I don't think I'll ever leave, but you know, it's just Biscayne Bay is part of my heart. But and we call it the Blue Heart, and it's this is why I love the studio that we're in, because it's like we're right on the bay. Exactly. But so let's get into another thing that just recently happened. Town of Cutler Bay was nationally recognized for floodplain management.
Right.
And for those who don't know what that means, I think we're kind of touched it, but maybe give us a little bit about that.
So this is the only time you're going to see me refer to my notes, because I want to make sure it happened last week.
Yes.
Like, our town manager and the public works director went to Milwaukee in the hopes that they would win this award, and we did. Amazing. And it's officially called the James Leawitt Local Award for Excellence. It's a very prestigious and nationally recognized award for the work that Public Works is doing for, you know, resiliency and mitigating flooding and all of that stuff. Which I say all of that stuff is all very critical stuff that we're doing in the town, but nationally recognized.
That's amazing.
Right? I say this, and I don't mean any disrespect, but little old Cutler Bay, like 10 square mile Cutler Bay, is doing things so amazing that we get national recognition.
Yes.
And at the same time, I was telling you before we started, our director, Alfredo Quintero, won Public Works Director of the Year. And Cassandra Silva, one of his administrative assistants, she won, I'm going to read it again, Exceptional Performance Award for 2026.
Wow.
So the whole department is killing it, right?
Yeah.
And for the benefit of the residents of Cutler Bay, for the benefit of me as a resident, for the benefit of me as a council member, and for the benefit of South Florida, like they're doing really great things.
I know them, you know, obviously, because I've worked with you all too, and you know, we've been in the same circles for so long. I know them, and they're just the most dedicated people.
Dedicated, hardworking.
Hardcore, and when it comes to their work. And so congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of you all in Cutler Bay. I mean, it's just, you guys are killing it.
Yeah.
Literally.
I really feel like we are, which is part of the reason why I want to be mayor.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep going with this. This is great.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Wow. And, you know, again, you not only are you dealing with wetlands and natural systems, but you're also represented on the Biscayne Bay Watershed Management Advisory Board by the current mayor, Mayor Mirbot, and who's done a stellar job representing the town and engaging in something called a reasonable assurance plan, which is really dealing with the water quality issues that we were just touching on previously in Biscayne Bay. But this really is a plan that's being done by the county with all the municipalities, because all the municipalities, through their stormwater systems, through the canals, through all sorts of pollution that gets into the bay, they all have a responsibility to reduce those inputs. And when I talk about water quality inputs, this is nitrogen and phosphorus. I know we're going to get into science, a little science here, but it's important. So phosphorus, a lot of that comes from fertilizer. Nitrogen, a lot of that comes from, you know, just everything from the street. Believe it or not, dog poop?
No, I do believe that because I can tell you as part of I can't sing Public Works praises enough. As part of the work that they do, they will go to our local elementary schools and they will give demonstrations. And I had on Earth Day, I got to see it. I went to see, and they have a model of what a section of town looks like. And they use chocolate sprinkles to represent the dog poop. And they use, red sprinkles and so they show what happens when those sprinkles get watered down and how they go into an aquifer and all of that. Yes. And this is the elementary level that we're teaching our residents.
But that's where you have to start.
That's what you have to start.
There you have to start. And I mean, again, it's all those little inputs, all those little things. And people say, oh, well, what can I do? Well, you can do a lot.
Or it's just my dog. It's not a big deal.
Right.
It is a big deal.
You can do a lot as a person. And plastic pollution, that's another one. So all of these communities are now at the table working together to look at, where the pollution is coming from. Septic systems, that's another one.
Right.
That's the big killer.
That is.
Big killer, especially in low-lying areas. I hope you guys are kind of trying to handle that.
We don't have very many.
Well, that's
septic.
because you're relatively
I think we have
new communities.
seven houses with septic in our town.
That's great.
Amazing.
That's great.
Right.
In the northern part where we had most of the fish kills is really where the big, the big issues are.
Right.
But for the most part, I think the county, everyone's doing their part, working together with the state, with the Department of Environmental Protection. So again, Cutler Bay is at the table, kind of leading that charge as well. And I know you've hosted a number of meetings for the board and also for the Biscayne Bay Commission, which is our state entity that was created by the legislature to also help with this whole initiative.
Right.
So you guys are at the table.
We are.
Oh my goodness. So as we wrap up, just kind of give us a little bit about your vision as you hopefully walk into this mayoral seat.
Yes.
Soon.
Yeah. My vision is. So we have a little juggling balance that we're doing, right? There's some developments that are coming, but we're keeping them hopefully all on the US 1 corridor and the Turnpike. I'm super anti-sprawl. Don't want sprawl. Let's build up at the mall and we'll be okay. They have the rights to do that, and they're doing it. They're doing it kindly, like they see the vision of the town. So I would like to continue to advocate for anti-sprawl. Of course, continue to advocate for the procurement of property when we can. I'm not sure how much property is actually left in Cutler Bay. I think we've done a good job buying up property, but let's keep taking care of our mangroves. Let's keep caring for our wetlands. Let's keep educating these elementary school students, through the WAVE Academy and both Coast Academies that are at, the middle school and the high school. We bring them in to teach them what a council meeting is like, by the way. We actually bring the students in and have them hold a real council meeting, which is an education in and of itself. And I would like to see that kind of leadership, mentorship continue.
That is so important.
It is.
I mean, the future is the future, and future generations need to understand that public service is important.
It is.
I mean, we can't just expect someone else to do it, right? I mean, and it starts at a young age. You get inspired. I mean, I did. That's how I started my career.
Right.
Knocking on doors for an elected official.
Right.
That's how I started.
Well, I'll welcome your help.
You might just see me out there. But thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Councilwoman Suzy Lord.
Yay.
We're so happy to have you
Thank
here.
you. Such an important topic.
Yes.
I would always come back. Let me know.
Thank you for being here.
Thank
Miami, Resilient Miami Show on Community News Network.
Love it.
Thank you so much, everybody. Until we see each other again. Bye.